Hi, this is Larry London, and you are watching The Voice of America as we broadcast from our studio with another musical guest today. We're so happy to have back in Washington, D.C., promoting a new album called In Hi-Fi Stereo. Mindy Abair is back in D.C. Welcome, Mindy.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here, and you know, I mean, it's been, 4 years since the last time we spoke?
It's been a little while. It's been too long.
Too long?
But you know what? A new record, got to come in and hang out with you. And,
well, thank you. Thanks for joining us here in D.C. on VOA. And, you have your own radio show, too, I understand.
I do, actually. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. It's called Chill with Mindy Abair. I have a new respect for you radio voices, for you radio hosts, because it's not as easy as it looks.
And so I
respect.
guess what kind of music is it that you're playing? Besides, I'm sure some of your own stuff, but what else are you playing?
I play a little bit of my stuff, but not that much. It's a fun show to do because I get to introduce people to new music. So I showcase a lot of kind of electronica and chill music on my show. So a little bit of jazz. I'll do, kind of old remixes of jazz standards, like some of the coolest remixers of today. They'll come in and do an old Carmen McRae song or, a Billie Holiday song. There's so much, cool stuff out there that kind of mixes old with new. So I like to find that. And, Moby, Air, bands like that. So it's always fun to kind of get a pile of music together and introduce people to stuff that I think is cool.
Now, a lot of people, I'm sure, wondering, they look at a very beautiful, talented musician, and why did you take up the sax? I mean, you started with piano when you were a little girl, but why did you all of a sudden gravitate towards the saxophone?
I was a total product of school band. I mean, my parents and grandparents were musical. My father played sax and keyboards, and I grew up on the road with his band, which was kind of a blue-eyed soul band. They had the horn section and, the whole thing. So I grew up with horns around. My grandmother was an opera singer, and she played piano. So between, our house and my grandmother's house, we had rock and roll and soul, and, my grandmother had arias going and playing Fur-Elise on the piano. I was just kind of a mixed up musical kid. I was everywhere. But school band started. They put a bunch of instruments out on the ground, and they just said, choose one that you like and sit down, and that'll be your instrument.
So is it saxophone or a saxophonist? Which saxophonist? Tomato. Which one is it?
I'll say saxophonist. Saxophonist just sounds...
Well, we just invented a new one.
I love that.
It sounds like I should be a classical player, which I'm not.
Mindy Abair is our guest, and we've got Jay in as well, right? Jay Gore?
Yeah.
And you're accompanying Mindy on the road?
I am.
And you guys have been on tour now for how long?
The record came out at the end of May, and we basically are on and off the road all the time, but we kind of hit it hard at the end of May and kind of started, going all around the country and hitting all the festivals and everything. So actually this week we're on an East Coast run. And every night, it's a different city. So last night was Philadelphia. Tonight, obviously, is D.C. Tomorrow night's New York.
Wow.
Next night is Boston, New Jersey. So, yeah, we're kind of making the rounds. Then I'm going to London for 4 nights to play.
Great.
So, we're kind of on and off the road all the time. But right now, it's especially, we're going for it. Actually, you just woke up. I think you slept on this side.
The life of a musician.
It is a life, It's a crazy life.
Now, why did you call the new album In Hi-Fi Stereo?
I gotta say, this record is a little bit different from my others. You get in a studio and you've got all the, all the production elements at your fingertips. It's hard not to use them. I want to sit in there and come up with keyboard parts for days and fit in different things, a little ear candy here and there. This particular record, though, I chose players and brought everyone into the studio, and we did it all in the studio at the same time. And it was a really magical experience. I've got to say, I've always wanted to make that kind of players record that you've just got that vibe that, a lot of times they did that long ago, but now everyone, kind of shies away from it. Oh, you can't record it all at the same time. It won't be clean.
Right.
I wanted it to not be clean. I wanted it to not be perfect. If there was a little crackle on a track or whatever, cool. It's part of the vibe.
Right.
So, I mean, it all started from kind of pulling out vinyl records from the shelves and going, oh, I loved that King Curtis record, or I loved that old Ramsey Lewis record. I want that vibe. I mean, I just sit at those, sit and listen to those records and just smile. So I wanted to make that record.
So it's safe to say raw and organic would definitely be...
Absolutely. Absolutely, it is. I mean, we all got in there and just, I put a framework down of the chart of the song and just said, here it is. Here's the body of the song. Now let's play it through a couple times and let's each put our own stamp on it and see what we come up with at the end of the day. So it went through a couple changes and morphed a little bit in the studio, and at the end of the day we were done recording the record in under a week.
Wow.
So it was kind of, okay, here it is. Here's what we're doing. We're going to just create it right here. And that was fun. It was different for me.
And you touched on the fact that nowadays they just don't seem to make the recordings anymore together at one time. Everybody lays their track and then they layer it down and mix it, and sometimes it can be emailed in and done on a studio recording somewhere else. So that it's not often that everybody sees each other at the same time anymore.
No, it was a really different way to approach recording, because now with the internet, I mean, my drummer could do drums in his studio at home and literally upload them on the internet to us, and we could have them to do the record with. But yeah, absolutely, all of us were in the same room. We could see each other, and it was fun to interact that way.
Not much bigger than this room here.
Yeah, it was about the same size, right?
Pretty much.
Cool.
We're all just in a little corner.
Pizzas and beer and lots of music.
There
Lots
was a
of
little
jamming.
pizza, actually.
There
some
always is.
Salvadorian food, actually. That was what
It was writing the songs kind of, must have been fun, a fun experience, because if you want to do something a little different and you want to get away from the typical sound that, you put out on a number of albums, then this must have been like a challenge and also at the same time fun and exciting for you.
Yeah, it kind of happened organically. You start writing for a record and you see what starts coming out of you. I never really plan it, but I was getting together with friends and writing. I got together with, the guys in my band that were on the road every night, and we just decided, all right, let's go to this little hippie recording studio, rehearsal studio that we go to called The Alley, and get in there and, maybe some of the walls and some of the coolness of the place is going to seep into us. Let's see what we come up with. Let's just go jam. So we went in there and jammed, and we came up with a couple cool tunes that, that I thought they were organic, they were fun, they were funky, and they really had our sensibility of how we play every night. And so we recorded a couple of those, and just writing with friends. It was fun to kind of get inspired by those old records, and they were very melody driven. They were very fun driven. It wasn't necessarily about how many chord changes you could get or how fast you could play or how many horns you could get on or whatever. It was just about a spirit of the music, and so that's what we were kind of writing and coming up with.
And you got a good friend on the album too, Layla Hathaway. And
absolutely, Layla's amazing. We went to college together at Berklee College of Music, and I just remember being probably 19 years old, and I was up on stage with her, and she was singing, and I just, I was standing back there watching her, and I just thought, she's special. We were kids at that point, just coming up the ranks, and she would sing one note, and it was that note that no one else in their right mind would ever choose to sing, and she sang it and owned it and made it so beautiful. And I was just a fan from the day I met her. And so it's fun to make music with someone you've come up the ranks with, growing up. It's always very special to be on stage with her or have her by my side in the studio. And actually, when I asked her to sing, I said, what about doing It's a Man's World?
James Brown.
Be a little, James Brown tune. But I said, we wouldn't do it James Brown-like.
Sure.
You'd be Layla Hathaway. I'd be Mindy Abair. We'd bring ourselves to it. She goes, yeah, I like the idea. She goes, but I don't want to just sing the song and have you take the obligatory sax solo. Like, we got to do it as a duet. And so we went in the studio and just kind of found our place with it and played off each other. And it was a stellar moment. I am so proud of that track, and she's incredible on it. That's one of my favorite tracks on the record.
Now, does the new album have you singing? Because I know you do some singing. Did you venture into any singing on the album, or is it all sax for you?
No, I mixed it up, actually. I sang probably less on this one because I had Layla sing. I had my friend Ryan Collins sing a song that we wrote together as well. But I sang a song called Let the Whole World Know. And I love that song. I kind of patterned it, I'll let you in on this. Maybe you'll hear it when you hear the song. But I kind of patterned it after that old Coca-Cola song when we were kids. I'd like to teach the world to sing. Remember that?
In perfect
harmony. Yeah. I love that song. And I just always thought it was, kind of brought us all
Did
together.
you have 200 people singing along with you?
I should
in the
have.
field?
I should have. I did, I did a few tracks, but it was fun to go in and do that, So it was fun to write a song like that and kind of get it out. It's a very feel-good, summery song. So that's what I ended up singing on the record.
Mindy Abair is our guest, and you've had quite an illustrious career, I guess, back to 1999 when you put out your first album. And then you had your first deal, I think, a few years later with a record label. And you've put out a number of albums, including a Christmas album. You've toured around the world, been on the charts, been up at the top of the charts at #1. So, looking back at all of this, does it seem like it's gone by relatively fast, or does it seem like it's actually been 11 years or so?
You know what? When I got out of college, all I wanted to be was a solo artist. And it's interesting. It didn't happen immediately for me. I ended up being the musician that toured with a lot of different people on the way up, And I was always doing my own music, always playing with my own band. But I ended up going on the road with Adam Sandler, with the Backstreet Boys, with Bobby Lyle, Tina Marie, Jonathan Butler, Duran Duran. You're good. But yeah, it's like all these different artists kind of gave me my voice or showed me kind of what I had to give because I had to fit into all their music. So now that I've started my own solo career, back in '99 I put out my first record. You kind of grow year by year and you morph. It does go by really quickly, It's a really fun journey. I look at sometimes, when we're out on the road, we can sniff in each other's direction and we know what it means, usually, that means go to the bridge,
right.
or this means take a solo,
right.
or whatever it is, So it does go by quickly and you realize how long we've played together. I met Jay 15 or more years ago, and he's been in my band for probably 7 years on the road with me. And yeah, it really does go by quickly, but it's really special. I think we really do soak in every moment and, try and make the most of it.
Now, how does one play saxophone for Adam Sandler?
I actually got hired for his tour as a saxophonist and singer. He was doing all music. He decided at that point that he wanted to do an entire music tour. And if you listen to his records that he's put out, a lot of people don't know that he does records.
Well, just the Hanukkah song, that's it.
Hanukkah song, no, there's a million other songs that he's written that are equally as funny and equally as off color. But I had such a good time with him. He brought together all these great guys. Waddy Wachtel on guitar, who did, Bob Seger, Linda Ronstadt, Stevie Nicks. He's just an icon. Everyone in the band was just an icon. So for me to be in it, really young, just kind of get to know those guys and get to know the ropes with those guys, it was fun. And besides the fact that we had a blast. So I would come out and play sax. He'd call me the big man, like Bruce Springsteen's
Right.
Clarence Clemens.
Sure.
So I'd come out and be the big man. And people thought it was a joke a lot of times. That was great, dude. The blonde came out and played the sax. That was so funny. It really sounded like she was playing. And Adam would be, hey, she was playing. So he still calls me. I just did his new movie. It'll be out early next year called Just Go With It. So I'm playing the sax player in the wedding band.
No acting?
No.
No, doesn't interest you?
There's people that do that so well. So, my love is always music. So he'll call me to do what I do usually. And, I'll know there's some element of you're kind of making a fool of yourself at some point, and I'm all for that.